What's going on, Eurovoxxers? Hi, Clara and Jess. How are you guys?
Hi. It's been a long time. We're good.
Yeah,
It certainly
I'm
has.
good
Well,
too.
at least it's been a long time since we've been all together on the Eurovoxx channel. Let's say
Mm.
hello to some people in the live chat. Hello, official ESC. I have to say that your name is quite you're quite confident in that name. Hello to Joanne Johnson. Nice to see you again. She enjoyed Keiino very much. Keiino. We were just talking about this. We're not really sure about which way is the right way to say it. Klabs also
Keiino.
says that he says Jorn was the best tonight, excluding Keiino. That's Clara, that's you. Sarah Halloran, nice to see you as always. Nice to see you, Tommy Corbett. What's going on? Didn't see much of a Lithuanian selection. Well, I have to say that this selection in Norway was quite competitive, and I always do my best to try and catch as much as I can of whatever's on. But I was quite glued to the Norwegian selection, and Jess, you also followed that one quite
Yeah,
closely. What did you think?
I mean, I think watching the first semi-final is proof of how much of how seriously Norway take Eurovision and take Melodi Grand Prix. And I think it just goes to show the level of interest and love in the country, given all the performances and the songs that we had that, in my opinion, were of a very high standard and were very good. Although my favorite didn't qualify, it was still a good show.
Yeah, definitely a good show. And Clara, you were really in tune with what was going on in Lithuania. What can you tell us about that show?
Yes, I can tell that the first impression I got is that the stage looked very similar to Supernova stage, the one Samantha Tina broke and belted her super powerful song out. I have to say that there's this current trend in the Baltics, because I've also seen it in Estilol, that this is like a revamp of the 80s that they're trying to bring and put it into fashion. And I have to say, some of the songs were good and some of the songs were surprisingly not so good. So I think there were clear winners or clear qualifiers that you could root out instantly.
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, that tends to be the case with the Lithuanian selection. Like, you generally have a sense of who's going to at least make it onto the next round in the beginning, especially because they used to make the selection a lot longer. I think at one point it was like 8 weeks long or something. This one is only going to be 4, so even shorter than last year with just 2 heats, 1 semifinal, and then a final. And of course, a lot of people are going to be really excited to see what last year's winners, the Roop, bring, because they are in the selection. They do, of course, have to win it in order to go to Eurovision again. Let's talk to Dog Lover Demi. So she's saying, "Hiya, lovelies, wasn't Monument just wonderful?" So of course, we have to talk about the return of Keiino. If you guys didn't see, I did an interview with them, and you can go to the link in the comments after, because obviously we want to talk to you guys and let us know what your thoughts were on their live performance. But Jess, tell me about Monument, because of course there's a lot of expectations, a lot of hype for this song, considering that they really have made a place for themselves in the Eurovision fandom. What do you make of it?
So when I first heard the song in the studio version, I wasn't as hooked on it as I was with Spirit in the Sky, because I just felt like it wasn't maybe quite as strong as Spirit in the Sky was. But watching it performed live tonight completely changed my mind. I mean, I think after being together now for 2 years, they've kind of developed a lot as a group, as a band, and they know what works for them and what doesn't work. And I feel like with this song, it's more true to them and who they are. And I feel like with the staging, they just made it work. Like, they knew exactly how to stage the song, how to perform it. The vocals were incredible. And it just seemed like they were more in their element and it was more them, if that makes sense. So I thought it was very, very good, very strong. And I actually like the song even more now, hearing it live.
Solid. And Clara, I know that you took a break to watch this performance in particular, because obviously a lot of us are really interested in what this is going to be. I don't need to pretend like their chances at success aren't that good, because they are. What did you think of Keiino's return?
Actually, the gods of Eurovision came together tonight to put a jury break talking about the Lithuanian songs, just as Keiino was performing. So I didn't miss anything of the Lithuanian show, and I was able to tune in to Keiino, however you wanted to call them. I loved it. I've heard the song twice. The live performance was the second time I've heard it. And oh my God, I got chilled. I got goosebumps. And I don't want to like accept it, but I got really big goosebumps all over. And Alexandra's Rotan's high note, it's amazing. When I heard when I heard the studio version for the first time, I was like, okay, let's see if she can do it live. Man, she can do it live.
Definitely. It really feels like they're leaning into their strengths as individuals and bringing it together in what I think is a more cohesive way to Spirit in the Sky. I know that some people do prefer it to the original, but of course we have to remember that this is a new year. We have to put what's in the past and focus on the year ahead. It says that Keiino stood out as pros. Agree with Jess fully. They knew exactly what to do, so confident and comfortable. Sarah Halloran says, I would like Keiino to sing a brand new football anthem. Interesting. I have my doubts that they're the football, the people who would be really into football, but
maybe like a yoiking chant.
Yeah. Something
like a hooka, like what you see in the Australian.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Marcin says it was good that Tom has no solo part. I mean, I think that one thing that works really well in that song are the vocal harmonies, and I think Alexandra seems like she has a bit more range to get those high notes. So I'm glad that they gave her that moment, because there wasn't really much of that in Spirit in the Sky. So let's move on, because obviously, we could talk about Keiino for lots of time. Sorry, I just had some dogs hurrying because they've come in from the walk. Let's talk about who actually won this first round of Melodi Grand Prix, the first semi-final. So Jess, tell us, who was it?
So I just need to hold on one moment because I can't remember the name. It was
all right. I got the name for you here.
What was the name? Something featuring
Blas Maffian with Let Loose. There's also a vocalist who is not appearing there, but this was in my opinion, this was a really, really cool entry. What did you think, Jess?
I liked it, and I thought that they brought something different to the stage because, for example, you had kind of heavy metal and rock from Yawn, and then you had a typical kind of modern pop song from the first two duels. And so I feel like them with this kind of funky track with this different staging with the trumpet sounds, it was kind of quite cool and different and out there. It wasn't my favorite, but I appreciate it for what it is.
This is the kind of entry that excites me, because we've seen a lot of attempts at putting something that's like a true EDM song on the Eurovision stage, and they tend to not work so well. I'm thinking of like Darude from 2019 and Joust from Poland in 2018. There's always something that tends to. Oh, sorry, not Joust. That was
Lucas Meyer.
Lucas Meyer with
Gromi.
Gromi, yes. Joust was actually an exception. Joust did pretty well. But yeah, like this, what I really like about this is that it has a visual element to occupy those instrumental moments. And it really brings a lot of elements of like what house music is about. You have a really soulful singer, and that's kind of broken apart with a really strong instrumental. So I think this is really cool, and I hope that it has a chance in the final. Francesco says he wasn't too keen on Blas Maffian at first, but the song came alive during the performance. Officially, yes, he's saying very nice and really live, really good, but the instrumental parts are way too long, so it's only an 8 out of 10 for her. Okay, you're gonna say something, Jess?
I was just gonna say, I think with a song like this, it's the performance that brings it alive and that gives it character. And because it's a song where you can just play on the visuals and kind of get creative on stage. So I think that will help it to stand out.
Mm-hmm. And we saw them doing all kinds of really cool things. Like we had the singer kind of in a, she had these brick walls around her, so it gave it that like club kind of feeling, or like, in line to get into the club or something like that. And then we had they brought her on with the brass instruments, and they were on the floor while there were these projections coming out of the guy's trumpet, or I think it was the trumpet player, not the saxophonist. Nonetheless, I'm really excited about this, as you can tell. And Clara, you haven't seen this yet, have you?
No, so I'm getting notes from you guys.
Definitely check it out. The Deucepont is saying Blast Muffians Let Loose was a perfect combination of Sunstroke Project and Rise Up Greece 2014. And I'd say that's a pretty accurate description. Also, just kind of going back to other performers in the MGP, Serdian says, Keiino are surely contenders, but I will wait for the Alexander. Of course, he's talking about Ryan Alexander, who competed last year. He won his semi-final and unfortunately didn't make it past that initial round in the final. But I know that a lot of people, including Jess was a big fan of his song.
I was, and I'm excited to hear what he's going to bring this year.
Mm-hmm. Stefan Allen is saying Jorn Robs. Jorn was the one who brought the song was not. I have to stop myself from saying Sunday Bloody Sunday. It's Faith Bloody Faith.
Oh God! But that's where the title must have come from.
Yeah, but big epic rock performance, kind of like tapping into hair metal and that kind of thing. I'm not too surprised that that's not the song that went ahead, but I see why people really like these kinds of songs. Jess, you like that one as well, right?
I mean, it was just like 3 minutes of epicness on stage. I mean, with like long-haired rockers. I mean, what's not to love about that? And, obviously it's not to everyone's cup of tea, but typically you don't get many kind of rock songs or heavy metal songs in like national finals or Eurovision, so that would really stand out. So, but they could still go to the final by the wild card, so fingers crossed.
That's true. Anything's possible. They didn't have this last year, but the final is going to be 12 songs instead of 10. There are 6 that are pre-qualified and only 5 semifinals. So one of them is going to be introduced by a wild card as selected by a jury. So it could be Jorn, could be Stina, could be Beanie Bell, could be anyone else from the future semifinals that haven't happened. Francesca is saying that Blast Muffians was my least favorite, but well, it's a matter of taste. Maybe I'll change my idea with more listening. Totally. Maybe for some people, I think that especially because this doesn't have like a typical verse chorus structure, it might not be the kind of music that people expect, but I would say give it a chance if you're not convinced yet. Luciano is also someone who preferred Jorn to Blast Mafia. And I've seen a few comments about Stina. So I know that Stina was the favorite for some people. What did you think of her performance, Jess?
So I think Stina had a very good song, very kind of modern, contemporary, and I absolutely loved the staging that she had, especially with the dances. But for me, I felt the vocal performance fell a bit flat, and there wasn't like much to it on stage. It was very forgettable in my opinion. And I think that could be the reason why she never made it to the final. But I mean, I think definitely the song has a lot of potential. It's very good. And it could be a contender for the wild card, in my opinion.
Could be, yeah. I would say that the song itself is quite nice. Like it has a really beautiful melody. I do agree that maybe the vocals really didn't live up to the studio recording. I do think that it might also be potentially, it might come down to the mixing because, they're using pre-recorded backing vocals and it was very hard to hear her in the mix of it all because she was kind of drowned out. So maybe that might have been what people were hearing. Nonetheless, I was really pleased to see it move on to the gold final. Dog Lover Demi is saying, oops, I removed it. Kind of weak vocally the first time around, but she did better the second time. I would agree with that as well. And then we also heard Tix, who is I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, but that's another pre-qualified artist. We've got the Angel Wings coming back, a little bit reminiscent of Rocco from Croatia 2019. And Marcin's saying it reminds them of Melodi Festival in Paradise. Your thoughts on Tix, Jess?
I mean, can we just talk about like the outfit first of all? I mean, him and his backing dancers were definitely serving a look. I'm not sure that I really liked the look, but I mean, as long as they're happy, that's the main thing. As for the song, it's not 100% to my style, but I do think it is a good song. It's very catchy. He seems like a very kind of seasoned performer and just knew exactly what he was doing and was confident on stage. And I think it's a good song, but I just don't think it's really going to trouble the voters too much in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to see. I don't have a lot to say about it because I was obviously trying to juggle a lot of shows, so I didn't see it. And I don't think you saw it either, Clara, right?
No, I just saw Lithuania and Keiino.
Okay, so let's move on to Lithuania because there is stuff to talk about there. Tell me, what were some of the best performances for you, Clara?
For me, Voldemort, Peterson. Sorry, every time I live in the Baltics, so every time I hear Voldemort or Valdemars, I just think of Voldemort. Happened. I think for me it had the most surprising song because I started hearing and I was like, nah, whatever. But as the song went by, I was like, oh my god, this is actually really catchy and the guy has a lot of charisma. It sort of reminded me to Brainstorm. Alvis, who is also a Eurovoxx member, he made a comment that he might be Latvian, so maybe that's why it sounded a little bit too Brainstorm. But I really enjoyed that performance. Another performance I really enjoyed was Martina. If I think she has the potential to be an actual Eurovision song. My whole point of this heat is that I don't see songs that can place very well on a Eurovision level. There are fantastic songs for like the radio, for a Lithuanian audience, but on a Eurovision level, the only one that I thought that could have potential was Martina. Her voice reminded me a little bit to, I don't know if you watched the Czech Republic, Latvian conquers. If you watched the Czech Republic semi-final of the previous year, because Pam Rabbit has a similar voice as Martina. And Martina is very sassy if she had a good budget, because she was just standing alone in the stage, if she had a good budget where she could like bring elements on the stage, she could do a solid Eurovision performer.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Though I have to say, if you write some lyrics that say, boy, I'm over you, I'm like so much better than you, thank you very much, you're clearly not over the guy. Just saying.
I have to point out that we're getting conflicting sources about the actual title of this, because when I was watching it, it did sound like she was saying thank you very much. The one that I'm looking at right now has the F word in place of thanks, which is cool. You know, why not?
It depends on the hour of the night that you play the song and how much alcohol you've drank.
Yes. Also, if it did end up going to Eurovision, they would probably have to make the same swap. But that isn't to say that the studio version has to be like that. The studio version, as far as I'm concerned, can be whatever you like. And Klavs is saying about the Lithuanian selection, happy to see a Latvian leading the selection.
So then Voldemort must be Latvian.
Must be Latvian. Dog Lover Demi is saying, Titas and Benas are my favorites from Lithuania tonight. They were very cute, and I just love the fact that they are cousins. This was a ballad duet, wasn't it?
Yes, and they were harmonizing, and I think they went together through X Factor, and you could see that they were very on the same page, like they were very compenetrated, and they harmonized really well. I really liked their charisma together, and what I thought it stood out the most from the other competitors, because I think they performed fourth. So the first three acts, they were not so comfortable. I didn't think they were as comfortable with the camera and on a TV stage as Titas and Bernas. So I could see that and that confidence, and I think they expressed really well their emotions. They were really good at conveying the emotions of the song, which it's always a plus because it helps people to connect better.
Totally. That's going to be one that I'll have to check out afterwards. Now, I think there is at least one that all three of us have seen, and this is a group that we kind of look forward to seeing every year. They usually don't make it very far, but we always like to see what they bring. And I'm talking about Twosome, and their song this year. Again, there might be a difference in the title that I'm seeing, because I'm seeing "I Love My Bear," but I think it was "I Love My Beer," wasn't it?
Yeah. They have points on bringing a unicorn on the stage. They have Clara points for that.
Clara points for the. They'll get some Stewart points for that as well. It's always something that's going to win with me. Jess, your thoughts on their performance?
I loved it. It was fun. It was kind of colorful. It was crazy. It was cheesy. It was random. It was different. And it just, like, a lot of the other songs in the Lithuanian selection were not as kind of upbeat or as up-tempo, and there was a lot more kind of slower songs. I don't want to use the word boring, but not maybe as out there as this song. So this one, for me, really stood out for many reasons. It's just so fun, and I love it. And yeah, but I heard it didn't make the final, which is sad.
I think the juries are tired of seeing them every year now.
Well, again, I mean, I haven't watched every year, but I haven't seen them move past the first round before. Last year, their song Pleo was pretty interesting, where they were playing on the stereotypes of Lithuanians being into basketball. And
but for real, like, for real, Lithuanian friends, for real.
Yeah. Honestly, like, if Lithuania ever wins, and with what the Roop was bringing this year, it could be a possibility. If they ever win, I hope that they consider putting Twosome in the show to bring us some funny interval acts or something, or even as hosts, because they clearly have a humorous element that isn't exclusive to Lithuania. Any other performances to make mention of there?
This didn't qualify, but I really liked. I need to read this name. Aldegunda and Sit Down, because it was the only song that had Lithuanian lyrics in it, and I thought it was beautiful. And I would be I would like to hear more Baltic languages, national languages on a Eurovision stage, because we mostly get English. So I thought it was really cool, and I really liked. It's my kind of catchy style of song. It's like rock, but I don't know. For a second, I thought she was the lady for fun that represented Lithuania in like 2007, but no. But yeah, I liked her performance, and I liked her energy.
Yeah, I caught some of that, and she kind of like Martina had a little bit of sass in her delivery, and it did jump out at me as the only one that was the only one that wasn't in English as far as what I saw. And I feel like usually we get like a decent amount of Lithuanian language entries, and maybe we'll be seeing less of that this year. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens next week, because obviously next week is Heat 2, and then they move on to semifinals. So we won't see any songs after next week. Do we know? Just kind of talking about the Roop. Do we know whether or not they have direct to the final privileges?
Yes. They have pre-qualified, and their song is called Discotheque.
Discotheque. Ooh.
It kind of says a lot, but maybe not. But like, you can glimpse like maybe where this will be going. I hope to see a disco ball.
I have high expectations. I'll try not to keep them too high, because I know that sometimes that can be one of the reasons why a good song doesn't get appreciated. You know what I mean? Like, expecting it to be a winner right off the bat, and it's not a good way to go into anything, because otherwise you're just going to be met with disappointment all the way around. But I think it would be really solid.
My bet, calling it Discotheque, is a disco ball, and by Jota, the singer, swinging on it like wrecking ball, like Miley Cyrus. But also, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
On a more serious level, the last contestant from the first heat of Lithuania that I thought had a good chance was Milita, because she's the girl with the long ponytail and the jumpsuit. The only thing I had an issue with is this 80s vibe that I know Andy pointed out that 80s never went out of fashion, but this super comeback everyone is trying to make is just for a few chosen ones. But yeah, I think she was overall very decent. She was very charismatic. She knew how to work the camera, and I couldn't help thinking there was something missing, but maybe if she adds more elements to the stage, I don't know. It's very brave to defend the song when you're alone on stage, and this is something I saw a lot of Lithuanian performers do tonight.
Yeah, you really have to, when it's all put on one person, you really have to carry the song, not just in your voice, but also in your stage presence, because there's really nothing else to fall back on. And you know, especially because at this stage in the selections, like we don't expect it's going to be at the production level of Eurovision, where they're really able to keep the visual engagement up to a certain level. At this point, it's you know, as much as they can do, considering budgets, considering really the pandemic restrictions that are affecting all shows. So yeah, everything is kind of scaled down at this point. But yeah, I think that's kind of good though, because it helps us focus on the songs. And you're right to mention the 80s throwback sounds and how much of that we saw in this heat, particularly in this heat. And you know, it does make me think like this has definitely reached the point where it's beyond a cliche, and now it's like it's not going to work for everyone. Like I think some songs are going to be kind of written off because of that, rather than the other musical qualities that they have. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Nonetheless, I think we'll wrap it up there. If you guys are just joining us, we were talking about some of the national selections that happened tonight. We saw Lithuania's and Norway's. They've just begun tonight, and they'll be going on for the next few weeks. So be sure to subscribe to Eurovoxx, because we're going to be following them all as they happen. There's been a lot of talk about Keiino as well, because they're returning after having won in 2019 and had a really, really good placement at the Eurovision Song Contest in Tel Aviv. So there's a link to the interview that we did in the description. And then there's also another video that we have down there, which is a guide to national selections. So if you've never dived into them as deeply as we do, it might be a good way to introduce yourself to it, or to introduce your friends and family, whoever might have an interest in Eurovision. So definitely check those out. Again, subscribe to Eurovoxx, because we've got lots more videos coming out about national selections. Don't forget to follow us on all of our socials so that you can keep updated with us. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our website is Eurovoxx.tv, and that's where you can find articles and news updates about selections, internal selections, artists who are speculated to come to Eurovision. Anything that we can find, we'll be bringing to you. And we'll leave it there. So we hope to see you guys again. We love to know what you guys think. If you're watching this afterwards, leave us a comment about these selections that we've seen and who you're looking forward to seeing for the next couple weeks. But I guess we'll leave it there, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.